Hey, friend, if you're an atheist because you haven't come across compelling, objective arguments for the existence of God, this debate is for you. And what do I mean by objective, you ask? Well, AI gives the following overview of objective versus subjective. Quote, yes, in order for a belief to be considered objective, it generally needs to be supported by evidence or proof, meaning it should not solely rely on personal opinions or subjective interpretations. End of quote. In this debate speech, I give 4 objective premise-based arguments that points towards God. Number 1, the nothing disproves naturalism argument for God's existence, which is an adaptation of the cosmological argument. 2, the fine-tuning argument for God's existence. 3, the DNA information origin of life argument for God's existence. 4, the a fortiori argument for God's existence. Now, in order to disprove these arguments, you must demonstrate why they are invalid. My arguments are invalid by means of objective, evidence-based rebuttals. But be advised, if you're going to make the bare assertion in the comments section, and I've heard hundreds of comments on my YouTube channel and my Facebook group that goes like this, and I'm just paraphrasing it. I am an atheist because I see no evidence for God. I need not disprove your arguments. I can merely dismiss them out of hand. Only theists must prove their position. Now, if you do that, that's fine. We will respect your right to express your subjective personal opinions and wish you the best. Sincerely wish you the best. But if you leave objective, evidence-based counterarguments in the comments section, we are all ears and will cordially respond. I hope you enjoy this debate. See you in the next video. Bye-bye. I want to welcome all my atheist, agnostic, and theist friends to this debate. My name is Todd Weiner, and for the sake of focus, I am solely a non-religious theist today who is affirming the following proposition. Present scientific data points toward a supernatural creator being the best explanation for the origin of the universe and intelligent life. For brevity's sake, I am calling the origin of the universe and intelligent life the GOATs, that is, the greatest of all time creation events. Let me start by defining the key terms of my proposition. I purposely chose the wording present scientific data to preempt my opponent from appealing to future discoveries to fill in atheism's explanatory gaps, also known as naturalism of the gaps. Theists, with a mere wave of the hand, could just as easily beg the question by asserting future science will vindicate theism. Furthermore, because we primarily use premise-based arguments demonstrating the superiority of the intelligent design hypothesis, the causal inadequacy of materialism being a secondary consideration, the popular atheist rebuttal called God of the Gaps is inapplicable. Now, I chose the wording points towards to preempt another stratagem used by my atheist friends who employ an empirical definition of science to exclude theism. But the beginning of the universe was a one-time, unobserved historical event. Naturalism and supernaturalism are equally unscientific because neither side can replicate something coming from nothing in a lab experiment. Therefore, both sides must use the scientific reasoning called inference to the best explanation to determine which theory best explains the observed facts of science. Finally, regarding the term supernatural creator, tragically, many atheists frame the origins debate as an absurd, false dilemma choice by arguing it's either atheism or the infamous flying spaghetti monster or Santa Claus or Zeus, etc. These straw man and diversionary tactics are deplorable, leading the unwary public to reject theism outright by misrepresenting our stance that the God responsible for creation is a past, eternal, unabiding mind. Question for my opponent: what do you say is responsible for creation? Will he answer with atheist Lawrence Krauss's "because nothing was unstable" equivocation? Or will he deify the impotent word evolution as Richard Dawkins and others do? Or will he say, as did Stephen Hawking, that the universe created itself out of nothing because of the law of gravity, illogically implying something can exist before it existed? By the way, laws are descriptors, not causal entities. Or will he postulate an omnipotent, past eternal universe contrary to the second law of thermodynamics? The law of entropy teaches that the useful, life-giving energy of our universe is running down like a battery slowly going dead. If the universe was past eternal, as a minority of scientists argue, we wouldn't be alive, as our universe would have suffered heat death many trillions of years ago. Renowned atheist Alexander Vlinkin, a quantum cosmologist and multiverse advocate, states, quote, "All the evidence says that the universe had a beginning." The Board, Guth, and Vlinkin theorem declares, with the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. Okay, now here are my three arguments for God's existence. The nothing, number one, the nothing disproves naturalism argument for God's existence. Gottfried Leibniz asked the most profound question of all time: why is there something rather than nothing? Atheists such as Richard Dawkins incoherently answers that literally nothing is ultimately responsible for the something of Leibniz's question. Quote, "The fact that life evolved out of nearly nothing some 10 billion years after the universe evolved out of literally nothing is a fact so staggering I would be mad to attempt words to do it justice." Fact? It's axiomatic that non-existence, by definition, can't evolve into or produce something because there's not anything there to do so. Carl Sagan said extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The bare assertion, pun intended, that non-existence ultimately fathered the existence of everything, starting with a fantastically finely tuned universe, is so extraordinary it smacks of an impersonal and incoherent supernaturalism that is far beyond the ability of observed natural processes. At least God, by definition, is not explanatorily bankrupt, being an entity possessing the necessary attributes, for example, power, creativity, etc., sufficient to produce the effects of sophisticated structures like the goats. Challenge: can you name one creative attribute or potentiality of non-existence responsible for the existence of the goats? If not, this debate is over based on this one head-to-head explanatory power comparison alone. All right, let's put argument number one into premise form. Premise one: the universe, encompassing all time, space, matter, suddenly began to exist out of non-existence in the finite past. Most theists and atheists, including multiverse advocates, agree with this premise based upon current science. For example, Einstein's E equals mc squared indicates that matter is derivative, not fundamental. Premise two: if naturalism were true, we wouldn't exist. There could only be a state of absolute nothingness, non-being. For example, no God, time, matter, space, or energy-filled quantum fields. Remember, non-existence by definition has no potential. In short, surely from a truly defined nothing, nothing comes. Conclusion: since we exist and the temporal universe can't create itself from nothing, our origin must necessarily be attributed to a past eternal force beyond nature, namely a supernatural efficient cause with the requisite capacity to create ex nihilo without material causation. For reference, Michelangelo is the efficient cause of his masterpiece David, and marble is the material cause. Skyscrapers cannot be built without an architect, efficient cause, and building materials, material cause. So how much less can natural processes create or produce the far more complex universe without an efficient and material cause? Atheist objection. But subatomic particles spontaneously spring into existence out of nothing in the quantum vacuum. So why couldn't the universe have done the same? Answer. The quantum vacuum is not truly nothing, as Alexander Lincoln himself acknowledges. It's a dynamic sea of energy governed by physical laws and having a physical structure. Be on guard for the equivocation error when it comes to the battle line word nothing. Sometimes atheists agree with the true definition of nothing being non-existence, the absence of anything. But then they contradict themselves by subtly redefining the nothing of Leibniz's question to include something physical within the infinite universe. For example, quantum gravity, etc. Then presto, quantum gravity becomes their de facto causal explanation for why we exist. But you can't have it both ways. Then, after subtly switching the definition of nothing, they will launch into a shock and awe explanation of the physics of that so-called nothing. This misleads people into believing atheism provides a plausible, naturalistic account of creation ex nihilo. However, explaining the intricate workings of the universe does nothing whatsoever to explain its origin any more than lecturing on the mechanical operation of a rocket engine explains who invented it. All right, argument number 2, the fine-tuning argument for God's existence. Both sides agree with the scientific data, which proves that our giant life-sustaining universe dangles precisely balanced on a microscopic razor's edge that is fine-tuned to the precision of 1 in 10 to the 10 to the 123rd power. For comparison, there are only 10 to the 80th subatomic particles, atoms, in the entire universe itself. There are 26 necessary fundamental constants and quantities perfectly woven into the universe at the beginning. Take the gravitational constant as an example. Gravitational collapse or runaway inflation would have rendered our universe lifeless if just a tiny fraction of one atom were added or subtracted at creation. This precision surpasses, by light years, anything our greatest engineers and architects have ever achieved. There are only 3 viable options to explain our astoundingly finely tuned universe: A, necessity; B, chance; or C, design. A, necessity. Few argue for necessity because on naturalism, the universe could have turned out trillions of different ways. B, chance. Were we just the lucky winners of a cosmic mega millions jackpot lottery? Of course, the lottery analogy doesn't help the atheist cause here. Because intelligent minds designed the lottery, there's a 100% chance some lucky person will win. But what are the odds of winning the jackpot if people and lottery tickets didn't exist? 0. What are the odds of atheistic non-existence hitting the miracle of creation jackpot one time in the face of such astounding fine-tuning data, let alone cashing in twice with the creation of sophisticated life built 10 billion years later? 0, of course. C, design. With necessity and chance eliminated from the pool of viable options, the scientific reasoning of inference to the best explanation leads us to an intelligent, supernatural, fine-tuning designer. The atheist rebuttal to theistic fine-tuning used to be the weak anthropic principle, which goes something like this. Yeah, chance creation is extremely unlikely, but it must have happened. Otherwise, we wouldn't be standing here talking about it. Rightly unsatisfied with such credulity-stretching question-begging, modern naturalists, with their backs up against their atheistic end zone, are now throwing a cosmic Hail Darwin pass to the multiverse. Multiverse proponents allege the existence of an infinite number of invisible, undetectable universes to improve the odds of hitting a life-sustaining universe by mere chance to an absolute certainty. So why are many atheists betting the whole house on the multiverse today? For some, sadly, it's driven by ideology. Bernard Card stated, if there's only one universe, you might have to have a fine-tuner. If you don't want God, you better have a multiverse. Stephen Meyer In his excellent, highly recommended book, Return of the God Hypothesis, 3 Discoveries That Reveal the Mind Behind the Universe, demonstrates how the multiverse, at best, only kicks the explanatory can back to a more distant beginning. There is yet another reason to prefer theistic design as an explanation of fine-tuning over exotic versions of naturalism that postulate a multiverse. In order to explain the origin of fine-tuning in our universe, both inflationary cosmology and string theory and versions of the multiverse that combine them posit universe-generating mechanisms that themselves require prior unexplained fine-tuning. Argument number 3, DNA information origin of life argument for God's existence. Premise number 1. DNA contains the digital computer-like information code required to build the first living cells. As Stephen Meyer stated, molecular biology has revealed in the presence of living cells an exquisite world of informational nanotechnology of digital code in DNA and RNA, tiny, intricately constructed molecular machines, a complex digital processing system which vastly exceeds our most advanced digital high technology. Bill Gates stated, DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software ever created. Premise 2, according to our repeated and uniform experience, complex specified information is always traced back to a mind, no specified information. 3, no materialistic minds existed at the conception of the very first life. Even atheists who believe aliens seeded the first life don't deny this premise. Conclusion, the evidence points to a supernatural mind being responsible for life's origin while simultaneously pointing away from the atheist assertion that the first life self-created by a mindless, undirected process. To illustrate this, could time, chance, and evolution cause the word love to be written on the sandy beach shore? Atheists answered, no, that would require a mind's output because of its complex specified information. Wave-driven brush and lightning strikes for trillions of years couldn't create it. Agreed. But there's infinitely more specified information in one living cell than in the word love. Therefore, how more certain is intelligent design, not random chance, responsible for life's origin? Now, while we're on the subject of minds, consider the a fortiori argument for an intelligent designer. To illustrate a fortiori, if I can't lift 100 pounds, it's even more logically certain I cannot lift 1,000 pounds. The human brain is the most complex structure in the universe, possessing more information processing units than all the computers, routers, and internet connections on Earth. If modern computers require a designer, how much more certain did the origin of the human brain require one? Note, the naturalists' causally bankrupt trinity of time, chance, evolution can't even produce the individual parts of a laptop or brain, let alone the complete structures themselves. Incredibly, Charles Darwin didn't even address the ultimate origin of life in his book, Origin of the Species. Instead, he simply presumed the naturalistic origin of that information-rich first replicating cell to have a foundation to build his theory upon. Tellingly, nearly 200 years later, biologist Richard Dawkins admitted in his interview with Ben Stein that nobody has any idea how life originated. But how many more centuries must we wait before this give us more time? Naturalism of the gaps argument rings definitely hollow. Common sense logic dictates that if scientists cannot create one living cell with all the basic chemicals for life in hand within perfect laboratory conditions, the likelihood of it happening by pure luck within a hostile to life early Earth's atmosphere is prohibitive. But let's say our brightest scientists finally produced a living cell after millions of hours of team effort. That would only prove our point. An intelligent designer is necessary to engineer and create complex life. Life wasn't created by a lucky lightning bolt striking Darwin's fanciful, warm little pond, as our atheist friends suggest. So in summary, we argued God, by definition, possesses the attributes sufficient to produce the effects of the goats, for example, power, creativity, etc., whereas naturalism's literally nothing, has zero sufficient attributes and thus zero explanatory power. 2, since a non-existent universe cannot create itself, it required an efficient supernatural cause to will it into existence without material causation. 3, only a supernatural intelligent designer can account for the unmatched precision of the fine-tuning parameters of our life-sustaining universe. 4, the same intelligent mind also transmitted the record amounts of specified information necessary to bring sophisticated life into existence. This evidence points towards theism while simultaneously pointing away from atheism's hypothesis of non-existence or past eternal mindless matter. Team it up with chance and evolution to pull off the 2 greatest creation events of all time. God is the author, designer of the goats, which of course makes him the goat of the goats. Consider giving credit to whom credit is due. Thank you very much for listening. I highly recommend, by the way, listening to chemist James Tour's interviews with Steve Myers on YouTube. If you want to delve into the awe-inspiring world of living cells, Tour is a highly esteemed scientist who refutes academia's claim that origin of life researchers have created life in the lab. That's a popular urban legend. In fact, researchers have yet to reach first base in creating life. So in my remaining 20 seconds, I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you get a lot out of this. And if you want to respond to this in the comments section as I'm posting this debate on YouTube, please do so. I'll try to get to as many as possible. Again, thank you. I'll talk to you later. Like and subscribe. If you like this video, like it and subscribe to the channel because we're going to be putting out a lot of stuff like this. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Hi friends, Todd here. Do you know why 70% of our Christian youth reject Christ by the time they leave college? Now that's a shocking statistic. Frankly, and I have to be frank here, it's because they have been brainwashed by 2 mantras popularized by atheistic cancel culture academia. The first mantra is, science has disproven God's existence. 2, the second mantra, Christ is either a myth or a legend. Now, I cordially debunk these mantras in 2 tracks. The first one is, the scientific case for God and Christ is impressive. This is our best all-in-one track covering arguments for God based on scientific data and various proofs for Christ. The second track is the real Christ, myth, or Savior. Here we share amazing quotes from non-Christian historians validating the 4 fundamental facts undergirding Christ's resurrection. Now, if you'd like to partner with us, please copy these 2 track links in the description. You'll find them in the description, and forward them to Christian and non-religious youth to immunize them to atheistic secularism. And if you have the time, also subscribe to our YouTube channel and pass it on to others. It really does help get the word out. So we'll see you at the next time in the next video. Bye-bye.